Hello everyone, my name is K.raaj. I am the author of a science fiction novel, Kyirux, The Message of Pascal. And today I'm going to be talking about this novel and the history behind this entire cathedral of ideas that I've put in this novel and some of the other parts that I'm writing currently. So let's get started. The Kyirux, The Message of Pascal, is actually a story about a guy named Jack Crawford who discovers a mysterious device while working at his construction job. And what he discovers is that it's a 500 million year old computer like device. It's not a computer, it's a computer like device that shows information like a computer does today to us, with us. So, this 500 million year old device pretty much shows him and answers all the questions that we have had as human beings on this planet about the existence of human beings, the evolution, the beginning of this universe, and what's beyond the boundaries of this universe. But again, as with any novel, there has to be a bit more substance to why he got this computer in his hand. So it's not just like a brief introduction to our evolution and how everything started, but it actually goes much deeper than that. And what this device does, it gives him a warning of something very big to come. And pretty much this is where the novel, the first part of this trilogy revolves around. There's actually three parts that I've written. The other two I'm just currently, revising and editing. But this part, The Message of Pascal, is pretty much, in my case, this was pretty much my own book of answers for what might have happened with our planet, with the solar system, and everything else with that. Now, the way this novel got started is pretty much the idea just came from the actual title. I did not know. I always was interested as a kid, wanting to write something about the unknown side of this universe. I've been always been fascinated by, watching Discovery Channel, the Science Channel, ever since I was a kid, and learning about the planets, what's out there. So this was just pretty much my interest. But once I got this title in my head one day, Kyirux, The Message of Pascal, I'm just like, this is such a powerful title. I've got to give this title, something sustainable to its name. And being a filmmaker and scriptwriter, I wanted to write a screenplay actually first. But then I realized that, look, if I write a screenplay, there's no way, I'm going to be able to sell this to anybody, and it's so tough these days anyway to sell any product to the studios and even get a decent amount out of that. So I'm like, what, the best way to put my ideas out there is through writing a novel, because in that you can inject so many things about your ideas, and yet you don't need a budget. All you need is time and Microsoft Word to do that. So that's why I did. And my fascination with this universe is what led me to write this novel. And while writing this novel, I came upon some of the most interesting, things and conspiracies in this world that went on. And what I've did is like I pretty much put some of these conspiracies into my novel and kind of gave a conclusion or an answer to why they occurred and how they occurred. The three of the most fascinating things that I kind of put it in this novel is, first of all, the Titanian structures on the surface of the moon, the pyramid type structures that some of the conspiracy theorists claim that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin saw when they landed on the moon, is these glass structures they had in the Superman movies in the 80s, where he goes and talks to his father from his planet. So they found these things, and then obviously the government's gonna hide it. I don't know why they would do that, or maybe there is a good reason for them to do that. So things like this, and then there's things like, why is it that NASA hasn't been able to gone to moon after 40 years? Why is it that I'm sure they can't just say that they don't have the funding or there's nothing on the moon. I mean, the whole point on going to the moon was to actually expand our horizons as human beings. And from there, we were supposed to take off to Mars. And obviously, this is why I think President Kennedy is one of my, probably the only president that I can say was a true president after Abraham Lincoln, that actually was a true patriot of the Constitution and of this country and to the world. He wanted to reveal so many things, including the fact that we have already made contact with the aliens. Now, if you watch videos by Bill Cooper, or who's known as William Cooper, the former CIA agent, he pretty much said that the reason why they executed or assassinated President Kennedy was because he was going to reveal that we have made contacts with the aliens, number one. Number two, he wanted to share the Apollo program with the Russians. He said the Kennedy wanted Russia and United States to go together so there can be peace instead of war. He wanted to do this, where NASA and the underground government thought that they can let him do this. The United States has to be the first one to actually go and land on the moon, and this is why you saw what happened. And then there's another conspiracy where the guy who's driving Kennedy's car actually assassinated him. If you carefully watch, he turns around and shoots. So these are the conspiracies that I've seen and I have heard all over the place. So I thought I might put some of these things in my novel, including what I just told you. There is actually a monolith in one of the moons of Mars, like that little potato chip type moon that you see going around Mars. There is actually a rectangular shaped structure, which even Buzz Aldrin talked about on C-SPAN. And you can probably YouTube that, and you will see what he's talking about. And for the fact that there are already aliens on moon, and they warned the United States and the entire Apollo program to not return, otherwise they will face pretty much severe consequences. And this is one of the reasons why we haven't been able to go to the moon, because we don't have permission. Isn't that interesting? And one of the most interesting artifacts that I included in the novel Kyirux, the Message of Pascal, is that everything in the solar system, including the universe, the entire universe, and every structures that you see that from the ancient time are actually somehow 19.5 degrees from the equator of that object, including the pyramids on the moon, including the gas clouds on Jupiter, the Sedona Mars area is 19.5 degrees from the equator. So things like these, when I was reading and I was watching the videos, they just fascinated me. And when somebody actually explains to you in a mathematical way and it makes sense, you want to go deep and deep into this rabbit hole, and which I did. And what I wanted to do, I wanted to spread the word to the people out there, to really look at what is happening in the real world. It's like we live in the Matrix, and then there are these real human beings like slaves being used, and this is pretty much what's happening. But we know it's happening, and yet we don't want to do anything about it. But the least I can do as a writer, as a creative person, is to just bring a little bit of this, of these historic reality, controversies, conspiracies, into a book that everybody can relate to. This book, Kyirux, the Message of Pascal, has romance into it, which I've always been a writer of romance. And I thought, injecting this into it will make it a little bit more real. And